Hey guys, Vern's here, back again with another Supercoach video. This time it's the round 12 review. We put out an 1880, so not bad. Dropped 49 places in the ranks, so basically just stayed the same for our rank, which isn't too bad in my opinion. I think there could have been a lot worse of an outcomes. We didn't have the greatest rookies on field that were scoring for us. I mean, it was better than zeros, but it just wasn't very good overall. But yeah, we'll jump into it. We'll have a look. We lost some leagues, but we actually managed to salvage one. Not something I normally do, but what you're going to see here is you're going to see I went with the C on merit. I actually planned on just keeping Dacos as VC, but with the way it was when the final game was going to start, I was guaranteed to lose 3 leagues. And I thought, you know what, I don't usually play for leagues, but I really feel like worst case scenario merit drops a 110 and I lose a few points and I lose my 3 leagues, and maybe he comes out and gets an extra, I think he needed 12 or so points, and I steal an extra win, which would be cool. Ends up with like an extra 14 and I end up stealing an extra win, which was pretty cool. And you know, it's an extra 14 points for the team overall. We've lost many points throughout the season. I know Chizo commented on the video recently making the comment that you always take the 120 plus, and I really was going to do that this week, but unfortunately, yeah, I just decided to take a bit more risk. I wanted to win some leagues. I don't know. I didn't think Zach Merritt this week really would have been the worst case scenario. I felt like, as I said, worst case was like a 110. If anything, it looked like a genius play first quarter in. The man's like 80 points super coach, 2 goals, 15 touches, looking insane. And I'm just like, I've done it. He's going to double ton, and I've captained him. I've done it. Obviously, Shields went to him for the next 3 quarters and really slowed him down. Second quarter, it was still okay. And then I think what unfortunately was happening is the game didn't end up as a blowout. Ended up, obviously, a very close game where Essendon just managed to snag the win. She's obviously having that banana at the end that if he kicked the goal, could have been a really nice extra 20 or so points in a crucial moment. But because of being a tight game, it's one of those things where the scaling obviously works towards the end of the game. So Merritt was sort of just like, as much as he was getting disposals and earning points, he was also losing points because the game was getting more scaling towards the end where he wasn't being as impactful. So that's why it sort of slowed him down a bit. His third quarter, I'm pretty sure technically he went back like 2 points because ended up with 6 disposals and going back 2 points. That just shows that 1, the disposals weren't effective. 2, I think he made a clanger here and there, and unfortunately, the scaling just was working backwards on him, which kind of sucked. I really wanted the Essendon blowout once he got those 80 points in the first quarter, because if all the scaling went there, it was just going to be like basically a 100-point first quarter if he got some scaling that way. But yeah, I guess that's what we looked at. Team, as you can see, our premiums went pretty well for the most part. We got Dacos' 123, Track had a good game. Bont, we take that. Libba is really good. Merritt's good score. We brought in Briggs, who was massive, man. What a bailout for us Darcy owners. Like, it's one of those things where if like Darcy goes down this week, it's too late to get on Briggs, unfortunately. If he went down a week earlier, would you be going to Briggs? Maybe we still would have done it, but like, it's just, Darcy goes down, he's on his bubble, and it was the perfect bailout for us. And if anything, he's coming with a 128. I considered, as I mentioned last week, either Witts or Briggs. Briggs outscores Witts by 29 points. So not only did we get the cash for it, we ended up with an extra 29 points on field. And that's just absolutely nuts. Like, obviously, if he puts out a 113 average, that's higher than Marshall. That's keeper territory. I don't think he's going to do that, but just, there's really no loss having Briggs on field right now. If anything, it feels like we still have a premium ruck. We just managed to bank Darcy's 400k. Like, that's just insane that it worked that way. Now, I didn't unfortunately see all these games, just in the sense that my missus' birthday was on Thursday, so we had a party Saturday, so we were setting up for the party on Saturday, then obviously drinking all Saturday, and then late into the night, and then I was pretty hungover on the Sunday, but what that meant was that I lay down on the couch and just watched footy. So, yeah, as I said, watched Essendon North, and then the game before that. God, what was even on before that? Tigers and GWS. There we go. Sorry, guys. That was. Sorry, that was actually. I don't know who was watching those games, but the Tigers GWS game was not a good game. Like, just in the sense of their disposal efficiency, like the amount of times I just kept seeing them absolutely butcher the ball or kick it straight to the opposition, lace out, or they would just get it and just bomb it 50 meters and just pray that it went to somebody. Like it wasn't a good game in that sense, but a good game that ended up right down to the wire, and obviously Richmond just get away with it. Really felt like GWS were coming, felt like they had all the momentum. I did sort of sit there and say that to Ben. I'm like, I feel like Ben is my partner's younger brother who crashed it out. I was just like, man, I feel like GWF have it all, but I feel like Richmond could just get out the back here and just end up with a really quick, cheeky goal. And that's sort of what happened, and they just ended up winning this game, which was a really good game. Would have been cool to see them draw. I kind of wanted a second draw for Richmond. Just because draws are rare to see, and I just like, when it's not your team, it's always cool to see the draw. But yeah, I guess going through it, that's it. Dacos, Dawson, like there's not too much I really want to cover on here. I'm sure plenty of people saw this, and as I said, I missed a bit of the games. I did see Port's game, and Weddle get absolutely dominated in the first quarter, come back for the end of the game though, and gets us a juicy 90. Once again, another rookie that's just gone really well for us. Hindsight's 2020. We obviously have Weddle here that just like, a lot of people didn't go on because it didn't look that good, and then he came good on his bubble and just like ended up being a great pick. Briggs, obviously, we got bailed out with, but we didn't end up with people like Humphrey, who just has earned people so much money, and then 2 weeks in a row ends up with score involvement / goal at the end of games that just like get him an extra 20 points. And like the 20 points obviously nice for everyone because it's on their field if you're running him, and then on top of it just extends his cash gen and the extra money he's making in the short term as well, which so we miss some, you get some, it's fine. Mitchell, unfortunately, missing did suck as well, because it meant that we only had 18, so we do end up with like Angwin's 38 on field, something I didn't really want. Green, 35 disposals, 89, not good. He's had a few poor weeks, but I guess we get over that. Zeeble just... Look, the thing here with Zeeble is he's got a 60, and in the crucial parts of the game, another close game where it's down to the wire, he kicks it out of bounds on the full 2 times in a row. I reckon he's lost a good 20 points there alone, so he was probably closer to an 80, which if he had an 80, would we even have the discussion of do we need to move on Zeeble? I don't know if we would, but I think personally I would. I just want to see if this is the right website to bring it up. I don't quite remember. No, I don't think that's it. Yeah, I haven't really ever bothered looking that stuff up, but I wanted to see how many kickouts Aaron Hall did have. I'm sure you guys know the website, you can probably look it up quite easily, but I just saw Aaron Hall getting so many of those kickouts. And just being the guy they were using off the halfback, and it's like any other week that's Zeeble. Like all the points Hall ate up, which I don't even know what he scored, but let's have a quick look here. Apparently not great overall. 83, which isn't bad, but that's 83 points that I think majority of those would be Zeeble's points in, if Hall isn't there. I think Zeeble's getting majority of those kickouts. He's being the main distributor from the back half. But unfortunately, Hall's there eating it away, and that's where I think the big question comes. It's like, with Hall in the team, is Zeeble actually a premium? I think for what we've seen, the answer is no. The other thing here is, how long does Hall stay in the team before they just kick him out because he's 34 and he's just not a future piece, or he ends up injuring himself again, sort of thing. Obviously, we don't want that for somebody, but we've seen it with his body. It doesn't hold up. So how long until Zeeble ends up being that main guy in the backline again? And when he's the main guy, does he go back to this 110 sort of average that we, have had from him previously? He's got St Kilda in the back half of the year as well, and they're a few weeks off. Obviously, he dropped the 180 on them earlier in the year. As we can see here, the 179 specifically. He has them in round 19, so that means Hall needs to hold up for 5 more games, 6 weeks including the bye, which if anything could help Hall, I guess, stay on the track. I guess that's the question there. How long until it just doesn't work out? Sorry, doesn't work out for Hall, and then Zeeble's back to the Zeeble we know. So that's the big question there around Zeeble. I think the other thing that obviously people are asking is Sheezel. Obviously, 2 peas in a pod here, these two. Sheezel no longer playing. He was playing behind the ball at the start of the game and for a large portion of it, but then he does move up onto the ball, and obviously his scoring doesn't do as well when he's usually on the ball or forward of the ball. Saying that, when Clarko's back, I think we're expecting him to be back this week. Does Clarko come in and the game plan change back to Sheezel behind the ball, distributing the ball, being elite with his foot? Is that what's going to happen when Clarko comes back? And I think that's the really big worry here for me. Is last year I made the decision to move on Caniglio after his 40 game. I didn't think he's going to be a top 6 player. He was going to lose another a chunk of money, and then if he isn't a top 6, we'd have to move him the week after he's 50k cheaper, and that's obviously not good for finishing the team if they're not a future piece and if they're not a keeper. And that's where we are with, I think, Zeeble and Sheezel. I think Sheezel, I always plan on flipping at the buy, so I don't really mind right now. I'm just going to keep Sheezel. That's why I think I've been mainly talking about Zeeble, but Zeeble's literally doing what Cogs did to me last year. They're both in the exact same position where they're 1 week off, another poor game, losing 60k, if not more, and then do you get forced to move them out regardless? Last year I thought that was the answer with Cogs, and then he not only became good, he actually then turned into one of the best scoring forwards for the rest of the year, and it completely burnt me. Could Zeeble do that to me again this year? Man, it's a terrifying, because everything's so similar in the sense that what was the change for GWS? They had a new coach come in and everyone thought that may affect it, and then it did. Cogs got his mid-time and he went back on. Clarko comes back. Does he then take Hall out of the side because he doesn't think he's a future piece of this team, which he's not, meaning that Zeeble then gets his points back, gets his kick-ins back, gets his disposals back that Hall was stealing from him? Does that mean Sheezel goes behind the ball and ends up being good again? Does Clarko coming back do what happened last year with Cogs? It's literally the exact same situation. I can't believe it. I always look at that situation and think, man, that was the situation that I really threw my season down the drain because I moved on Caniglio when I shouldn't have. Zeeble is literally in it, and the gods have given me a second chance to redo my wrongs and keep Zeeble this time. And the thing is, if I do keep Zeeble, just makes finishing the team so easy. We're 3 premiums away. We've got 11 trades. We've got a lot of money. It's very easy to finish this team. It's not going to be a problem. Sidewoodsing Zeeble, as much as it may still be easy to finish the team, I think with my plans, I'm going to be finishing the team with about 3 trades left. And if I side with Zeeble, then I'm looking at 2 trades. And last year I ran into the trouble where I ended up having to keep Lipinski because I just ran out of trades. It's hard to say how much of that is going to come to fruition this year as well. And we're going to end up in that same position where I end up having to keep somebody that didn't want to, like a Sheezel, and just have sort of a underdone team. Oh man, that's really the big question for me this year, and that's why Zeeble is a massive talking point here. I'll go through the rest of the team, and then I'll go through my actual thoughts as to what I'm going to do with Zeeble, which is doing my head in. Obviously Bont, people talking about flipping Bont. I say it every week, in my opinion. I feel like he's a solid 110 minimum, so he's always a safe captaincy. Yes, he had the stinger with the knee, I think. And then if he doesn't get up, then is he potentially, a downgrade? It's just so hard because you don't want to be moving on premiums. I think I'm going to have enough premiums to cover it. Enough players to cover in that round as well. So, if Bond for some reason wasn't to get up, it doesn't really matter this week. I think Bond's meant to be 100% fine. It's just, I remember him, I'm pretty sure, as I said, I have heard that he took a stinger in the knee this week, so hopefully he gets up, he's fine. But if he's not, it's not a week that it matters, because we got only 1 bye and we've got 22 players plus playing this week. We're fine, so it doesn't matter. If he's out 1 week, you ignore it. Track came with a good score, would have been a great VC option. Just obviously wasn't, but once again, he's someone that I'm very happy to have in my team. He's very expensive and he's very hard for a lot of other people to get in, so very nice for us. Merit has really gone up in cash now with this as well, so if people weren't on him yet, it's not going to be possible to really get him in. yeah, as I said, Libba came with another good week. Day, as I mentioned last week, he's someone I plan on keeping as that D7, M9. And I guess when I say finishing my team with 3 trades, I do mean holding Day on that side, on that bench. And that's not bad, because you could end up with a few weeks left in the season. 3 weeks left, somebody's out for a week, you don't want to use your last trade on it, that's fine. You throw Day on field and you're okay, assuming he's in, the mid or back line. And then, as I said, because of his high versatility, I think he has the ability to drop these 130s. You do just put the E on him, see how he goes. Things go well, you can easily flip him onto field. Obviously, it's very hard to tell sometimes which premiums are the ones that are going to go off and which one you would prefer to move off, move onto the bench to take a Day score. That's going to be the really hard thing. I think the other thing is we can keep Day with Zeeble potentially, and we can always look at looping those two back and forth. Definitely an option. Cincotta playing was good. He should hopefully be back until his bye. Angwin had a lot of opportunities, in my opinion. He just couldn't hang on to the ball, couldn't hang on to a tackle, and just, this was easy 50 to 60 points he could have been putting down, but just couldn't, unfortunately, which is a bit unfortunate. But at the same time, you know what? He played 38 points that I got that I wouldn't have had if I didn't have him playing. So we take that. Taranto, that's fine. McRae, that's a good score. I'm happy to take that on his debut. Rosie and Butters were both really funny in the sense that Port smashed and they both had good games and they just didn't get the Supercoach for it. I think one of the reasons obviously being that it's a complete Q1 scaling game because of how badly they pumped them in the first half, where obviously like Finlayson and things like that ate up a lot of the points. Also, I think it was a high Supercoach points game where obviously it maxes out at 3,300 points, and the way it works with scaling is it just means that Butters and Rosie didn't have more points to get because really Finlayson, Marshall, Bruce, all those guys kicking goals, getting touches, doing things like that were just like stealing them all. On top of that, I know Butters did kick it out of bounds in the full twice in the first quarter, which, as I mentioned, scaling obviously working negatively for him there, where unfortunately he did that. But you know what, we take these scores, there's nothing wrong with them. It's a bit unfortunate for anyone that went for the C on them. I would hope that you would have done a VC on one of those two, because they are high volatility players where they can definitely have some of these more average scoring games. And I guess that's going through quickly. So this week we're going to quickly just get everyone on that is playing. And then we'll just quickly talk about what I want to do with Zeeble. And it's probably incorrect what I want to do, because the answer is I haven't learnt my lesson from last year. I know. I want to trade him, guys. I want him gone. And 2 reasons for this. My round 15 bye kind of sucks. Really bad. I'll just show you how bad the 15 bye is looking. We've got obviously the 5 players here, 4 there, 1, 12. So we've got 12, assuming we have Johnson, Davey, Mitchell, we're on 15. But the thing is, I want to be trading Weddle and Mitchell in their buys as well. So I've got to find a rookie that's coming on. I'm probably going to bring Stewart on. So that doesn't really change there, but yeah, and then hopefully by 15 I'm bringing Oliver back into the team, maybe Laird into the team. Maybe Briggs is moving, but there's a good chance he's not going to have made his money and I might end up holding him another week on top of that. But it is a situation where maybe I'm only looking to field 15. I'm looking to field maybe 18-ish. It could be a bit of a struggle for us, where if I do move on Zeeble and who I want to move him for, This is probably very incorrect of me, but I'm just going to show you so you can understand what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of bringing in Jake Lloyd. Yep. Look, are you sitting there thinking, is there really going to be a big difference between Lloyd and Zeeble scoring? There's a good chance these guys end up averaging the same for the rest of the season, and there's not really a difference, except to point that Jake Lloyd has 1 more game to play than Zeeble. Jake Lloyd has had his bye. That means he has an extra game. Now, assuming they both average 100 for the rest of the season, let's just throw that out there. How many rounds we got left? Let's just say we've got our 10 rounds left or whatever. Zeeble would have to, assuming Lloyd has that 1 extra game, he's going to have an extra 100 points in his total score. So Zeeble's going to have to out-average him by 10 points a game to even break even with Jake Lloyd. That seems like that's, in my opinion, less likely to happen. Like I do think with the way things are going right now, it's one of those things where the way things are going right now, Zeeble could very much be a fake premium, and you have to move him on. If Hall stays good for the rest of the year and just keeps eating into his points, and all of a sudden he ends up this 85, 90 average guy, it's just not good enough. Or you just don't want that. So Lloyd, there's a good chance Lloyd will just average him from there. Then, as I mentioned on top of it, Lloyd does actually, as I mentioned on top of it, he has an extra game, Lloyd, so that's great. But then Lloyd also has St. Kilda this week, and I know that might be a bit silly of me to bank on, but God, do Saints give up points to defenders? We saw it with Sicily, we saw it with Zeeble, we see it every week. Saints love to give up points to defenders, and there's a chance that this week Lloyd could go really big, like really big. So I think that's something that's really cool. They're only 2K difference, so I'm not really losing any money making this like straight switch. But if I was to wait an extra week, I think Lloyd's break even's just average. Yeah, 91. Assuming he comes out with a big game, then he could, definitely gain some money. I mean, off his projected 120, he's going to gain 13K. But that's not really the issue. The issue is Zeeble's break even of 172. If that man comes out with let's just say he comes out with an 80 and you decide you have to trade him, as I said, he's going to drop 60K. So he's dropped 60K, and all of a sudden you now have to take 60K extra out of your kitty that you were using for upgrades, which could be super painful. Especially if you wanted to move to someone like a Lloyd, and Lloyd's gone up that week. You already have a Stewart in your team, so you can't bring Stewart in. You have to look for these week one buy players. Maybe you already have Sinclair, maybe you don't like Sinclair, so you end up looking at a Lloyd, and as I said, Lloyd goes up 15K, Zeeble goes down 60, and you're 75K extra in the hole, and because of that you can't finish your team later on, or it means that you can't get to the players you need to get to, and you end up having to go for cheaper options that you didn't want, and it's not an ideal finishing team. That is how I am feeling with it, and that is why I'm looking at Lloyd. Now, if you went back to my video from last year when I traded that Caniglio, I'm sure you would actually get the exact same rant. That was basically the rant I had with Caniglio, that hey, I don't think he's a top tier premium. If he has another poor week and we decide we have to trade him, he's going to go down 60K, and then you just, blah, blah, blah. The exact same rant. So I'm literally just rinsing and repeating, in my opinion, my biggest mistake of last year, and I'm doing it again. Oh, man, it's actually mind-boggling to think. Like, I think, man, if I could just, the hindsight, if I just knew, I think, as I mentioned last year, sometimes you make the correct plays and it doesn't work out. I think that was the correct play last year. Just then Caniglio went off, and it's just how it happens. Now, I think this is the correct play again this year, and if it just doesn't work out again, clearly I'm just wrong, and it's just not the correct play, and I don't have the best read on that situation. I'm too impatient with it, but I'm doing it again. Rinse and repeat. I'm so sorry you're all along here for the trip, but I am doing it again, and I just cannot believe that I am. So yeah, that's my plans this week. The only other thing that I think is a little bit annoying is that we moved Clary sideways to him to Clary to Libba, did we? No, we sideways Clary to Sicily. Then the week after, we had the sideways Sean Darcy to McRae. And now this week, we're sidewaysing Zeeble to Lloyd. And 3 weeks in a row of just doing a single sideways trade, it's not good. It's not good at all for the team. We're not progressing. I think it's gaining us points week to week, and that's the positive, because I don't think if I made those plays, we would have lost more points, and maybe we're outside the 3,000 or something. So we're making the aggressive plays, and we're heading in the right direction. So I'm going to stick with it. We're going to do the aggressive sideways trade, and yeah, look, it might be a bit crazy there. With that, obviously Zeeble wasn't injured like Clayton and Sean Darcy. The other thing I think we need to look out for is if Hall actually gets named. If Clark goes back in the coaching role this week and Hall is omitted from the team, I think at that stage, God, that is such a hard one, because we won't even know. Hall could be named as an emergency for the Thursday night team sheets, and we're not going to know until Friday night if he's actually playing. And at that stage, I've already brought Lloyd in. Oh, man. Yeah, look, it's a bit crazy. Maybe I need to just look at who else Sydney has for the rest of the year. I don't think they have Saints again, which would have been really cool, just because of how many points Saints give up. 3 SCG, 4 SCG, 5, 6. Only 6 SCG games, so not a lot. Few MCGs. Look, I don't think that's going to help looking at the teams. I think I've already worked it out in my head. I'm just wasting a little bit of time there. Finally, let's just get into the captaincies, see what we're doing this week. I mean, I did just say Kill to give up points, and they're probably going to have a big week. They're at the SCG. I think the only other thing I wanted to double check is how Lloyd actually performs at the SCG. So he's had a 100, 120, 106, 90, and 139. So not bad. He's definitely having a lot worse scoring away from the SCG. So obviously 70 there, 70 there. Okay, yeah, let's back in Lloyd here against the team that loves to give up points to defenders. As the VC, he comes in just like Sicily does. He gets the VC into the same opponent Sicily had, and it'd be really cool if you could come out just like Sicily did. Obviously, highly unlikely. And then looking into my C, I think we actually go for the big dunks. I don't know if people have been captaining him recently. I've been going Neil over him when I have been doing this, but Dunks is in some serious form right now. Like his 5-round average, 132, 3-round, 134. This is the Dunks that we expected to pick when we picked him at the start of the season. A 119 average, he's looking good. His last 2 games have been massive. 3 out of his last 4 have been massive. He's in some serious form right now. We're going to be at the Gabba as well, were we, this week? I'm pretty sure. No, it's MCG. Okay. Sorry, I thought Lions had the home game. So he's at the G. I mean, both... No, G is for the Gabba. MCG is for there. So he hasn't had any games at the MCG yet. Okay. I don't know if that's going to matter too much. I think historically he hasn't, I guess, scored really well against the Hawks. Hawks, I think, are good at stopping... wait. 4th and 16th. Okay, so they're good at actually stopping midfielders from scoring, but they can't stop forwards from scoring. Obviously, Dunks is a midfielder, but yeah, I don't know, Dunks is just in some serious form right now, so I think we actually back him in. Obviously, there's plenty of good options this week. English into Power, I think, is a great VC. We obviously have Laird or Dawson. Now, I think Dawson's good games have been at Adelaide Oval, which they're at Adelaide Oval this week. So, Adelaide 110, Adelaide 170, 150, 150. Had a bad game there at 120. Yeah, Dawson definitely scores well at Adelaide Oval. Against West Coast, I don't think they have anyone that could tag him anyway. Even if O'Neill went to him, I don't think he stops Dawson. God, that's the other really hard question there. I mean, I'm happy to take Lloyd as the VC, but Dunkley or Dawson, I think, is a big question there as to which one you would prefer. Yeah, obviously, as I said, you can go Laird as well if you want. You can go Neil as well if you want. I don't know about the actual midfielders into Port. I think English is good. If you really wanted the rest of Taranto into Freo, but I wouldn't be safe seeing that. That's something that I'd be comfortable VCing, but not seeing. Merritt into Carlton could be a good one. And then I don't really know about anyone in this game specifically, just because Pies have been good at restricting mids from scoring, so I don't know about Petrarca or Oliver, and I don't know if... Melbourne don't tag, but I don't think Dacos won't get attention. So I think the furthest I would go is Merritt as a captain option, but then I think it's just a lot easier to look at Dunkley or Dawson personally. But yeah, I guess that's the wrap for the week, guys. This is how the teams are looking now. I guess the plans to finish this off is we want one more defender here. So I do want to get Sicily in here. Sorry, not Sicily. Stewart in here next week. Going down Weddle and Mitchell. I do want to get, as I mentioned, Oliver and Laird in here. So technically that should... I mean, technically what would finish my team is, like, we need to upgrade Briggs, Trincotta, Weddle. I'm choosing to go for an extra upgrade and keep Day as as I mentioned, M9, D7. And then, as I mentioned, I also wanted to upgrade Sheasel as well. Obviously a forward, though. I don't have any forwards floating in my mid, so I would need to figure out which forward to go for there. I don't think I've looked at them just yet or who I want there. But yeah, I guess that's what I'm looking at. I guess the other thing is, as I said, I wanted Zeeble down here. He wanted to be my final forward. So say I kept Zeeble. Obviously, I just need to do the 3 upgrades nice and easy. Sorry, 3 upgrades nice and easy, and then Briggs also would get flipped. So I'd be looking at 4 more upgrades from there with 11 trades. That's... Even if I'm doing a 1 down, 1 up, that would leave me with the 3, as I said. There's a good chance I'm going to need more than that, so there's a good chance it pushes me down the 2, and then doing this sideways to Lloyd pushes me probably down the 1. Yeah, I was kind of sold on Lloyd, but I do think I maybe need to work it out a little bit more throughout the week, because if I finish on 1 trade for the next 8 rounds or whatever, as much as I said I have the day cover, it's still pretty risky to do that, so... Maybe I mean, as I said, this is actually the biggest problem I found last year, that I ended up having to just keep Lipinski. So if I end up in a situation where I have to keep Sheasel, that's obviously not ideal either. I guess the other thing is obviously swinging Day into the back line and keeping Day as someone that has to play on field. I don't like that. Look, this is what I'm going to go with for now. Things may change. I could very easily just keep Zeeble, but I guess that's what I'm contemplating, and I guess all the things that you guys should be contemplating too. Sure, I gave you plenty of reasons as to why this is a good idea to make this trade, but at the same time, as I said, if I run out of trades in the process, it's not really worth it. 10 trades, I actually want 5 flips, do I? Stewart, Oliver, Laird, flipping Sheasel, and then I want to flip Briggs. God, even if they're all 1 down, 1 up at worst case scenario, I run out of trades. So I probably can't make this trade in hindsight. So I hadn't really crunched the numbers. I'd thought about why I would do the trade, but I hadn't actually crunched the numbers for what I'm going to do. We have the 240 in the bank. Yeah, okay, look, I'll wrap it up here, guys. But yeah, that's just everything that I'm considering. As I said, all the things you should consider. Once again, thanks for tuning into the video. Thanks for watching it through. I always appreciate that. For those that have liked it, for those that have subscribed, I always appreciate that. Yeah, look, there really shouldn't have been much to talk about this week, but then I think Zeeble made a good talking point. But yeah, if I was flush for trades, I would definitely be moving on Zeeble. As I said, the only reason I'm contemplating it is that I'm clearly not flush for trades. So... yeah, anyway, thanks for tuning in, everyone, and I'll catch you all next week.